Going live in 3. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Marfoogle TV. My name is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Let's get it going and right into it. We're going to talk about some very, very interesting stuff, including Russia declares Trump's peace deal is dead. Now, over the last 24 hours, there's been a lot of different things going on, and of course, there's a lot of big stories over the weekend. And Memorial Weekend, I'm sure a lot of you had a fun time, had barbecues and things like that. I got food poisoning over the weekend. It was not fun. But again, I'm sure that a lot of you had a great time. Meanwhile, in of course, the world governments, they were plotting and scheming and doing all sorts of dreaming. So again, Russia declares Trump's peace deal is perished as Kremlin threatens to seize all of Ukraine. Russian press had declared that, of course, our president's peace deal is perishing of a slow death, as a key ally of Vladimir Putin mocked Western ceasefire plans by posting a map showing almost all of Ukraine occupied by Russia. The Moscow-based daily newspaper Moldovsky Komsomolets ran an editorial on current ceasefire negotiations, commenting that it believed President's, quote, energy charge had gone flat, and that it would soon become obvious to even Mr. President Trump that any deal was in the death throes. The bleak assessment was reported by BBC's Russia editor Steve Rosenberg during his regular dispatch covering the nation's headlines. Now, it's an editorial, but at the same time, you actually have things that back this up. We're going to show you that here in just a minute. And there are 50,000 troops amassed, I should say. We'll talk about that as well. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
The flag above ya, is it the same one you think you under? I said I wonder, the flag above ya, is it the same one you think you under? I said I wonder, is someone taking over?
All right, what is going on, guys? It's Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on? How are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So we have a lot to go over. So first of all, let's go over the next story, which is 50,000 troops amassing.
Yeah, certainly. So, Russia has masses, 50,000 troops, and they're preparing for an assault, they're claiming, on one of the major towns there that they're calling the Fortress City. I think it's Kharkiv is the name of the town that they're or the area they're getting into. It's near the border. We'll talk a little bit later about what they've already done on the way here. But all of this are the signs that, hey, peace talks aren't the thing right now. Like, let's stop stop negotiating, or let's start negotiating. So if we're going to do that, everybody should sort of be backing down, backing off, settling down. And what you're seeing is a massive ramp up of troops, in this case 50,000 in one particular area, and it seems more like, hey, can we get more land before we move into peace talks? Or, as we go back to the article you just talked about, Adam, there was that Dmitry Medvedev tweet that came out that showed a buffer zone in red that was all of Ukraine. It was basically like, hey, we're going to create an entire buffer zone of the entire nation, um, with maybe a little strip by Poland that we won't occupy. So those are some big deals when you think about those the types of words they're putting out. Have they just completely fly in the face of negotiating a peace deal right now?
And this is the former president, Medvedev. He posted this out. I again want you to just kind of absorb that. That red area is essentially all of Ukraine. So they're saying that that would be the DMZ, right? So between everybody else, Romania, Slovakia, Hungary, Poland, and the rest. So, everybody takes everything as far as, everything is propaganda at this point. Everything will be until it happens, right? But at the same time, this has been the pattern on this is that it's not going away. And just like with CV, people, wanted to say, oh, this is going to fade away, or this is going to stop, or this, this can't go on longer. And it did. It just kept going and going and going. Especially the lockdown parts, like when we were actually locked down and we just could not believe it was still going. With this, a lot of us too, we don't believe the media. So when the media says, oh, Russia's going to do this or Russia's trying to take over all of Ukraine, a lot of our natural responses, and I believe this is a lot of people, even the people that, don't really agree with most of what we would say, hey, I don't believe that. Again, but what if later on, it's still looking like they are in there. They are still taking over cities. It looks like they may be doing this. They've just also amassed troops on the border of Finland. Finland is amassing troops on their border as well. I mean, it looks like they are definitely preparing for something bigger. We even talked about it if they start moving blood around to the borders of NATO, actual, blood that you need, transfusions on the front lines. And that has happened apparently. So, and when they start making mobile hospitals and things like that, that's what happened in 2022, or I'm sorry, 2020. Yeah. Has it been? When did they start this? 23, right? This is 2 years old or 3 years old? Gosh, it seems like it's flown by. It was 2023, I believe. Dex, was that when the Ukraine thing started? I'm trying to remember. Either way, the year before that.
2022, February.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's been 3 years. That's absolute insanity. So, in 2021, we saw them amass before that and get practiced and get prepped up. They do their prep. They essentially do a mock drill, and then at a later time, they just go do it. So that looks like what's happening right now with Finland and other places. As far as Ukraine, they're amassing 50,000. They're going to try to take the main cities. I don't think they're giving up. And at the same time saying the peace deal is perished. And then Dex, you want to talk about the president says Putin playing with fire in new jab at the Russian leader.
Well, yeah. So a couple of days ago, he called him crazy for the reactions that were happening. He said he was absolutely crazy because of the reactions that were going on with the failing of the negotiations. And now with the recent attacks that have gone on, Trump has come out and said that he's playing with fire and it's a fresh jab. So his latest statement shows his frustration with the stalled peace talks. He said, quote, what Vladimir Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. I mean, really bad. He's playing with fire. And that's what Trump said. I think it was on, True Social Network. He posted that. Now, a lot of people asked him for clarification, like, what are the really bad things? And the White House didn't actually respond. So we don't know what the really bad things are. Although there's a whole lot of people asking for more sanctions on Russia. Of course, sanctions haven't done much in the past. I think the one thing that has hurt Russia recently is, and it's not directly a sanction, it's just the lowering of the oil prices, right? All the work that has gone in since Trump became president, and the fact that the economics of oil has come down dramatically, that hurts Russia because that's one of their biggest money makers is selling oil. So obviously more sanctions on that would harm them, but the fact that the price is down is harming. So I don't know what he's going to do. Like, we don't know what that means, but a lot of people suggest there's going to be some significant sanctions coming out, if those even matter.
One thing I've noticed is, and this might have been a key to his success, is his simplicity. He'll describe and say the positive words about almost everything. He'll call a bill his big beautiful bill. But he'll also, on the negative side, he'll say, really bad things will happen. I think that a lot of people related to that because he's not somebody who's using all these huge, giant toilet paper words of the day. He's just very, very simple, and he simplifies everything. He really does. Every time he makes a threat, even it's very, very simple. Playing with fire, and he literally says really bad things. At the same time, he describes positive things in a big and a marvelous way. The only time he uses the big words is for the positive things, and he uses small words for the negative things. That might be some sort of mental sales game type of thing. I don't know. But one thing we do know is that, Russia, it is not going in a positive direction, and it's just continuing to continue. Before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. This is our recommendation. If you want to protect yourself against an EMP, I think that an EMP would be the most likely attack from any one of our major adversaries, including Russia, China, North Korea, because it would not take any of us out at first. It would knock out our power, which would leave all of the perishing to ourselves. Essentially, once our power goes out, we lose water infrastructure. We lose everything. Once we lose water, that's why 90% of us would perish. That's what's really scary about that. So make sure to have extra water and food. But again, this is a device that will protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, transportation, pretty much of any kind, and your generators, gas, and of course solar in the case of the Bug Out XP. And again, it will protect your home. This device is, again, at a major, insane sale over at marfooglenews.com. Again, go check that out. Again, there is their sale that has now gone public, and of course our sale, $50 off with our code that is grandfathered in. So make sure to go check that out. marfooglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. It takes 10 minutes to put in your car, and your car will run after multiple EMP strikes or a Carrington level event from the sun. Solar event, unfortunately, will happen. It's just a matter of if we have developed technology and everything is, been addressed as far as our vulnerabilities. All right, and then Russia seizes Ukrainian border villages in its bombing campaign, and of course, there's a lot of updates. There's now been just massive strikes all over these Ukrainian villages. So it really does look like they're really pushing. They're pushing the line, and I'm sure after the next couple weeks, we're probably going to see Russia control a lot more territory. Dex, what do you think?
Yeah, certainly. This goes right hand in hand with the 50,000 troops. So if they mass those up over the weekend for the purposes of heading towards Kharkiv, and now they're seeing that the first border towns are being taken over quickly by Russia, it basically backs up that story fairly clearly.
Yeah, because if they slow their bombing campaigns, that means they're doing it because there's their own soldiers going in. They destroy major targets, they destroy defenses, and then they move in with physical soldiers, and they actually set up perimeters. They set up camp in the cities. So it looks like they're moving in. And then what you'll see is once they set up their new line, then they'll do it again. So we'll see. I think that we're going to see the front line move quite a bit in the next couple weeks. And then Russia launches large-scale naval war drills in the Baltic Sea. So at the same time, they're prepping for something major. And if you see the scale of some of these drills, it's really incredible. At least 20 warships and 3,000 troops, along with air support, again, practicing in the Baltic Sea. As part of the exercise, the crews of the fleet's ships will solve anti-submarine tasks in combat training areas, again, practice defense against unmanned boats, and conduct practical artillery fire at sea and air targets. So they are in the Baltic Sea, which again, this is the area. The location is why this is important. This is in NATO territory. They're in the middle of Finland, Sweden, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. They are right in the middle of all of this, right behind, of course, Kaliningrad, their enclave. This is Russia as well. And again, they are right out here doing all of this. Dex, go ahead.
Well, yeah, we also spoke a lot last week about the fact that Russia has made it very clear they're going to support their as we call it, a shadow fleet, but they're going to support their tankers or their ships that are coming out of their ports from any harassment from NATO members. And we saw that one incident where they actually got into let's say a non-kinetic dogfight, but a lot of dogfighting maneuvering between a couple of fighter jets over Estonia, I think it was trying to board one of Russia's ships. So this is all happening in that same place. So rolling out 20 warships, 3,000 troops around the guise of a war drill could also be something that we would see happening in coercion with their shipments of tankers and other types of oil that may be sanctioned that they're trying to get through.
Now, I've heard a lot of buzz over the last 3 or 4 days that there are some sort of events going on with our infrastructure and that there are attacks against our communications. X went down, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but we covered X when it was just a kind of a smaller outage. Dex, was that not crazy? Because we talked about it that night, and we said, well, usually, because we talked about the YouTube thing, we said that night, well, we don't think it's that they're trying to wipe something off of it because it's not really a global outage, right? What did they report by the next day, Dex?
Yeah, you said that they reported it was a global outage. I think I said that the telltale sign would be if it was global. I didn't know if it was or not.
And that doesn't mean that they were wiping, but it ended up being a global outage by the next day. And I just thought that was really interesting because it was a smaller thing, and then all of a sudden they said in all of the Western countries, you had X go down. In France and Britain and all these different places, you had this happen. So that is a huge communication. And if you think about now, X is one of the most reliable places for stuff to get out. It's also the worst place for stuff to get out and total propaganda and everything else. But if somebody wants to post a video of something happening right that minute, X is the place, at least right now. If you put it up on any other platform, if it's a sensitive topic and they decide it's bad, that they just get rid of it. And it almost makes me wonder, how would X do that and save face? Dex, think about that. How would, if Elon was asked by all of the world governments, like, hey, you have to get rid of this video, and Elon agreed in one case, yeah, how would he save face? He would almost have to take the whole thing down and delete the videos off of it. They would have to address the source of the video and get rid of it.
It just doesn't hold up to the MO that he has been portraying to do something like that, especially for someone else, maybe for himself. If it was bad about him, I could see him doing it or suppressing it. But it just, because if that were to come out,
well, that MO is exactly what I'm talking about, though. How would he save face?
If it were to come out from an internal source that's what he did, the whole value of Twitter would probably fall apart.
That exactly, and that's the thing. If there was something where they say this is a international security, kind of threat, this video will put everybody in pandemonium. And I'm just using that as an example, or this information or this whatever, and they go, yeah, you're probably right. This is going to start something, or this is a really, really big thing. Then yeah, I just wonder, how would he save face? Because he's basically saying, everything flies, right? Well, I think that it's down to bias, and that's the thing. Like you said, if it's about him or something, is he going to do that? Because he was banning and blocking people that were talking trash about him at first. So, and that didn't go, everybody complained. They're like, well, so you're about free speech, but if it's about you. So then he started unblocking them and he brought them back. I mean, just saying. All right. And
I think they would have more success now if they were to claim anything that was bad as AI. like because AI videos are so legit looking that if something they didn't want out got out, they could say it wasn't real and say it was AI.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good point.
That's going to be the new excuse, right? It's going to be the reverse psychology of using AI as an excuse.
Yeah, so if Macron comes, if there's some top secret video of Macron and it comes out and you completely have proof of every theory out there, they can just go, oh well, this is AI. Somebody obviously made this and made a fake. This is deep fake completely. And then Dex, do you want to talk about Netanyahu and his conversation with our president?
Well, yeah, as we're, continue to wait and see what's going to happen between Iran and the U.S. and the negotiations, it looks like the reports are coming out from the weekend that the phone call between Trump and Netanyahu didn't end very well. It was a very heated conversation, which kind of goes back to the last conversation we reported on where they were trying to go ahead with strikes and Trump basically called them off and said, no, you're not, don't do it. So, as much as everyone has gone back and forth on whether or not Trump has been, getting more sour, so to speak, with Netanyahu or not, I guess this is one of those that could land in that category that says, yeah, it doesn't look like things are working out real well right now between Trump and Netanyahu, or the U.S. and Israel, however you want to look at it. And it's not just us. A lot of people are sort of pointing the ire at Netanyahu. They've been doing it for a while, but even more so in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it seems like the public has shifted, and what I want people to recognize is when people are being manipulated. And it's just kind of crazy because, you had people manipulated in one direction this way, and then you had a resistance. Now it's almost like everybody is kind of on the same page now. So it makes you wonder what was the manipulation and what was originally what, was the truth. And then Germany threatens steps against Israel as tone shifts over the Strip. So now you've got a whole lot of controversy going on. You have, of course, other NATO allies, talking about not supporting this in specific, stepping out and saying, hey, we don't agree with this. Germany's foreign minister threatened unspecified measures against Israel on Tuesday and said Berlin would not export weapons used to break humanitarian law, as he and Chancellor Friedrich Merz delivered their most severe rebuke yet over the Strip. Germany, along with the United States, had long remained in support of Israel's conduct since October 7th, even as Israel became increasingly isolated internationally. As its about turn comes from the European Union as reviewing its Israel policy, and Britain and France and Canada also threatened concrete actions. So, as far as the Strip goes, something totally wrong with this whole picture. Right? A lot of people have their own theory about what the plan for the Strip is. But I do think it's interesting because just like a month and a half ago, the president was saying that the U.S. will take control over it. I wonder if that was the big problem, that the U.S. took control over it, and then Netanyahu secretly said, hey, well, actually, no, but can we take control over it? And then what is the goal for it? A lot of people think that they're trying to use that Strip for basically demolish it and then use it for something else, or even carve out a new path there. I don't know what the heck to think anymore. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, Trump's so dead set on getting these deals, these diplomatic deals done. And I think the quote was, "I want a diplomatic solution with the Iranians. I believe in my ability to make a good deal." Coming out of Trump's mouth, or at least being attributed to him as it relates to that Netanyahu conversation. I think that it's interesting to see that as much as he wants to make a deal, you've got the others that don't. And then you've got sort of this whole world that on one hand we want to think they're trying to respect the power and strength of our presidency, but I also question how much of at least our adversaries are getting together on the back end and saying, all we got to do is string this guy along. All we got to do is act like we're making a deal and then fall apart, and act like we're making a deal and fall apart. And then his great claim to fame, the art of the deal, is he can never get a deal done. So it's when you look at Ukraine and the fact that they've had those conversations and they fall apart, and they've had them, they fall apart, had them, they fall apart. You look at Iran and we don't know where they are right now. They're kind of strung out, and it's creating all this tension with Israel. I just wonder if there's not like this whole behind the scenes playbook that says this is how we deal with Trump. We try to negotiate and make him look like he's heading down the direction of getting a deal, and then make the deal fall apart, and that screws him over.
Oh, wait, is that kind of like what I said right before all of this? I said, how would you address Trump? What is his weakness? And I said his ego, right? If you keep playing with him, make him think that he's about to get a golden plaque on the wall or get a Nobel Peace Prize, and then just rip it away from him. If you do that constantly, just over and over again, I mean, that's what it seems like they're doing. I think you're spot on, Dex. They keep acting like they'll have these deals. So he goes out and tweets. He goes out on a limb and says, I think we're going to have one by this weekend. I think we're going to have it by a couple days from now. And it seems like he believes it. And that's why people believe it. And that's why people have calmed down so many. I guess there's a good part about it because people keep believing that it's going to happen because he's saying it with confidence. And everybody's like, well, I trust him, so I think everything's fine.
Well, and he does get some wins.
Everybody's been complacent.
He got the wins with the Arab states. I mean, 3 huge Arab deals, trillions of dollars flowing into America, and he got the deal with the UK. But with the adversaries or with the areas that it matters, it's difficult. Now he did get the deal with Yemen, but how much of that deal is legit? Because Yemen's still firing on Israel, and I know it was a U.S. deal, but still, okay, it's like a partial deal. Did you get them to actually stop, or did you just get them to stop firing at our Navy ship that's sitting out there?
Yeah, which as far as the bigger picture, if they don't stop firing over here and over here and over here, then you still have the potential for a massive escalation and a just gigantic war. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace. If you don't have, obviously food and water is first, but medicine is after that. If you don't have antibiotics on hand, which most people don't, I would say it's a very, very good idea, because if something like a finger cut turns into a funeral trip, then again, you're probably not going to be too happy. And that's what could happen if we have any kind of situation where we can't just go to the hospital, can't just go to an urgent care and get fixed up, right? Well, that's what would happen if we have a grid down, if we have an infrastructure attack or a cyber attack. And that's the whole thing, or a physical event that happens that stops you from getting to the hospital. West Coast has a Cascadia subduction zone. Somebody earlier says, what about that, that volcano going off of the coast? Again, we covered that weeks ago, and I totally agree with you. Yeah, that volcano, something like that goes off, triggers Cascadia, full margin rupture. You can't get from Portland to Seattle. You can't get down the street because all of the overpasses are crushed down. Something like that happens, you definitely want to have a supply of this, and Jace is where you can go. Marfooglenews.com/Jace. Make sure to use the code MARF. Again, that has all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics, and there's a whole add-on list of other great stuff like albuterol inhalers and other things that you might need in an emergency situation. Go to marfooglenews.com/Jace. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/Jace. All right, and that's JASE. All right, and then I'm going to go over to the chat here. Thank you so much, K Wildman, this week. I appreciate that. Stephen McMahon says X is involved in a fight for, G is involved in a fight for his survival politically, if not literally. Big shakeup in Chinese Politburo. So I just wonder, Stephen, how much of that could be, stuff that we hear, because of the amount of control he has. There's not really a panel of people that helps decide things with him. He decides it. Now, I could see a revolution and people pushing up against Xi, but he really has a way of doing this similar to what North Korea does to get rid of people he doesn't like. I mean, he shakes things up himself. So I just wonder, send me any kind of sources to what made you come to this opinion, because I would love to see what's going on. All right, and then thank you, Stephen. I appreciate the support. Thank you for the super. All right, and then Dex, let's go over North Korea. Says U.S. space shield is nuclear war scenario.
Well, acting just like a Chinese puppet, they're saying the same thing as China did. They're all getting together to say how bad the Golden Dome is. So North Korea's foreign ministry has criticized the U.S. Golden Dome missile defense shield project as a, quote, very dangerous, threatening initiative, according to the state media. The Golden Dome plan is the product of America that has, heightened response against all of the potential for strikes that can come in with the hypersonics, even short range stuff, but mostly long range ICBMs, etc. They say it's a serious concern, which is echoing what China said, but it's also a hand in hand, I guess, as they're describing it, nuclear war type scenario. And I don't know if that's just taken out of context or just one that's sort of put in there to kind of insinuate that if we build something like this, then we're asking for it, right?
Yeah, and the Golden Dome itself is one of the most fascinating stories, yet. They're talking about a space-based system that could not only detect and monitor, but could also take out anything at any stage. This would throw the balance of the world off. We have mutually assured destruction. They launch, we launch. But as far as what if they launch, we knock it out of the sky, and then we launch and destroy them? I'm pretty sure that not too many of our adversaries want that to ever happen. And what will they do to prevent that? He is saying that this will be done by the end of his term. Now, of course, he can be confident about that, and he's probably talking to 16 people that are involved in making it, and they're saying, we definitely think we can get it done by 2028. I almost wonder, though, what if it's late, but what if it's early? What if they really can get this thing done by the end of the term? What is the information in the background? They've got spies in the U.S. government. And what if China finds out that this thing's going to be done by next year? Or what if they find out that this thing's already in the production and, they already have the framework, that they decided that very quickly? What do you think China's going to do if they think, hey, in a year and a half, we will be under the thumb of the U.S. again? Dex, go ahead.
Well, look, North Korea, just as much as China, have both been trying to build out their nuclear arsenal so that they can become a nuclear superpower, or at least in China's position, superpower, but in North Korea's position, just a nuclear power where they have a sense of strength and defense against anyone. And I think that this idea of a Golden Dome that's 100% effective against strikes, I think they called it like 99.9% effective because it's got multiple layers. It's like if you miss them at launch, then you can get them on the way up. And if you miss them on the way up, you can get them in orbit. If you miss them in the orbit, you can get them on the way down. So it's got like 4 different layers of attack so that even if they have any misses, they've got multiple opportunities to take them out again. That it basically eliminates the nuke. In other words, the nuke becomes useless. And I think that that is a major threat to Kim, because it's the only thing that's pretty much kept him alive. You look at how all these other countries are taken over and overthrown with leaderships. They didn't have nukes. He's got them, and it keeps everybody at bay. And if this type of technology comes out, then his days are numbered. And I think that's a serious concern on his part.
Yeah, so you could see serious coordination on North Korea's part to try to do some sort of horrid event. We, of course, have the rumor about this year that there may be coordinated attacks before the end of the year by 1,000 sleeper cells in the United States and 1,000 sleeper cells in Europe simultaneously doing some sort of event. People forget about that. I'm not going to forget about it until 2029, and it still hasn't happened. I hope it doesn't. But again, there's a lot of events where you know that they're connected. North Korea and Russia and China are completely, have this bridge system going where they're directly working together on everything. And then Greenland says it will turn to China if U.S. and EU shun its mining sector. So, again, the U.S. and European mining companies need to hurry up and invest in Greenland. Otherwise, it will have to look elsewhere for help exploiting its minerals, including from China. Dex, You called this. I want to go over to you
Yep.
because you actually called this word for word.
Exactly. Exactly. And look, I'm Greenland. What do you mean invest? Like the president of the United States probably offered you a phenomenal deal, including a whole
Nice
lot of
word choice, by the
tax-free
way.
advantage, yeah, including a whole bunch of tax-free options and no trade issues and all sorts of investment money. But you turned your nose up at it. So you've done it to multiple presidents in the past too. So look, it's where it's going. If they don't strike a deal with us, they know they can strike it with China, and I think it's probably a negotiation tactic on their part to say, hey, well, we'll go to China because the last thing we want is China and Greenland. And the first thing China wants is any land mass that they can have and take control of in the Arctic because they don't have any. It's Russia, Canada, the U.S., and Greenland, and then the northern European countries. So China's been left out in the Arctic play, but they want to have a play there. They don't want to just have it with Russia. They want their own. So if they can Belt and Road, Greenland into some great deal, and then all of a sudden they can't afford the debt on it, just like they do with everyone else, then China's in like Flynn and Pawtucket is out. And you will see, a dramatic change. And I think that's why you've seen Trump and other presidents in the past talk about the strategic importance of Greenland.
And I'm sure soon, if China really is in the kind of makings of that, that others will agree with him as well. The thing is these guys have people that can essentially see the future. That's why when you see them have this need for a strategic piece of land, it's because they have information we don't. If you want to talk about the most powerful weapon in the world, it's info. And the leaders of the world have this and we don't. And it's set up that way. So they always will have it, and we will never have it. We always get the specs, and that's why you got to look at the broad sphere. You got to look at the gravity and all of the events happening on the outside of it, and then try to guess what's in the middle. And there are some of us that have a lot of discernment, a lot of intuition, but also just a lot of common sense. When you see 10 events happening around this circle, that that means that the one is in the middle is happening. And again, it's just funny you called that to the T. And then China chemical plant explosion leaves at least 5 perished. Now, I saw some comments, and there's a lot of comments about this and the size of it, saying that this may be something of a retort or a tit for tat. The reason why is because a lot of people believe that there are systems already up there, certain rods, and of course putting God into place, that may be able to do things like this or sabotage. That there's always some sort of secret conflict going on behind the scenes. This thing, though, if you look at the pictures, it's insane. At least 5 are perished. A chemical plant in eastern China just went up. The blast was powerful enough to knock out windows and at a warehouse more than 2 miles away. Imagine that, an explosion that broke windows 2 miles away. I don't know if the Shablinsk, I feel like the Shablinsk meteor, did it knock out windows 2 miles away? I think it had a huge radius. But again, the pictures from this, once again, look absolutely nuts. I mean, just look at that. Look at this image of the explosion cloud here. Imagine that happening nearby your home. This is a residential street. Dex, have you seen any other theories? I saw that somebody thought it was a space thing. But again, was this sabotage or was this just a faulty, made in China kind of place that didn't have good standards that blew up?
Yeah, I mean, we can speculate, and we'll probably have lots of different theories on it. But right now there's no official cause. At least nothing's been published to say what it was. The plant manufactured pesticides and chemicals for medical use. That's all they've said. It had about 500 employees. So, and there was 230 first responders at the site of the blast. That's a lot of people. This is huge. This is not a small event.
God, look at the repetitive buildings here. Kind of looks like some of the pictures of the ghost cities, right? But that's in eastern Shandong. And then China stuns the world by firing precision laser at the moon in daylight, reaching historic deep space targeting mission milestone. Before we talk about this, I do want to remind you guys, make sure if you don't have any food on hand and if you haven't invested in freeze-dried food, the reason why is it lasts up to 25 plus years. You can go to marfooglenews.com/prep and find the best deals out there. We have actually picked this affiliate, and we have other food affiliates, but this one is definitely the most bang for its buck. As far as a 3-month plan, you can get a 3-month plan for cheaper than what you're going to be spending at the grocery store for 3 months of food for one person, or you could split it up a month and a half for 2 or a month for 3. If you're trying to get together, 6 months of food for a family of 4, you will quickly realize how expensive that is, especially if you get freeze-dried. The benefit of having freeze-dried food that's just there for 25 years is, one, it holds most of the flavor. It is preserved better than dehydration. It holds a lot more of the nutrients and minerals in it. But also, it is a space saver. There's a million different reasons why it is an incredible way to have food. But also, you don't have to rotate food in and out, and you will have it ready to go when you need it. For any kind of disaster, it doesn't have to be the end of the world for something to happen regionally. If you have storms, North Carolina, Hawaii event, Paradise, all these kind of events where people got trapped and they could not go anywhere. So go to marfooglenews.com/prep. Go check it out. Again, it is you're not only going to help us, you will get a huge discount on certain packages. So make sure to go check out what deals are current as of watching this video. All right, and then the whole firing a precision laser, as we just talked about on our Marfoogle News short, it's a big deal too, because this is showing that their targeting prowess and their communication skills now, to the point where if they have this stuff in space where they can target certain things, and they targeted a moving satellite in space from another one, I mean, that's quite a feat. And I know we've covered a lot of these achievements, and we've been trying to cover absolutely everything we can from the U.S. A lot of our stuff is private and top secret. But they have been putting out things left and right. And it's not a good thing, because honestly, if the most likely conflict in my brain is us versus China, at some point, almost all of the officials say it will happen. They want to take Taiwan. They're practicing. They're doing all of this stuff for years. Don't think that they're going to do this for years and then say, nah, actually, we changed our mind on Taiwan and control over the strait and a huge bump in military power and strategic power over the entire world if we take Taiwan. I think they're going to do it. And if they do it, all of our allies are going to be very pissed. And at some point, they all do deals and they go, well, this is just not good for the world. So Japan and the Trilateral Alliance and the U.S., they say it's just not good if they take Taiwan. Well, they're going to take it. So at some point, we are going to go to war with China. And they know it. And I think that they are preparing for it, and they're doing stuff like this. Dex, the precision laser that they fired, it's something that scientists are now commenting. They said they didn't think this was possible.
Yeah, well, the precision is cool, because it's 6 point something miles, splitting a hair. That's the level of precision they got with this. But the other thing is the daytime, the fact that they were able to fire it during daylight. So that's another obstacle they got over. And then the third obstacle, which you already talked about, was just hitting the actual target there that is a satellite. And the reason that's so important is you think about the autonomous landings that we've had in the past on the moon. Those things are sent up and they get their instructions. They probably already had them pre-programmed into them, but if they wanted to make changes or they had to adjust something, they would send the information up to that lander before it landed. And it takes time. It takes time to get there. So it's not like you can drive a joystick in real time and adjust that lander. You got to go, well, I think what's going to happen is this. So let's change the instructions. We got about 2 minutes before it's going to hit. We can get the instructions in that amount of time over the radio frequencies. And then they'll send them and they'll get through. Well, now with the laser, they're going to have full data. They're going to be able to send complete data information and literally drive a lunar lander remotely from the ground at Earth through daylight and be able to have that type of precision, which is a huge advancement in say autonomous lunar landings or any type of communication back and forth as it relates to that distance.
Now, the daylight part. So, I guess what
The
was
sun interferes with lasers during daylight. It makes them more difficult there to see or for them to broadcast. So they're able to transmit through that as well.
well, you would think that nobody's directly looking at something and pointing a laser at it anyways. That's what's that part kind of confused me. So, as far as the laser doing this, I that was the part that didn't get me. Like, what did the daylight part have to do? Because of the equipment that they're using, the sun would mess up, or they would think that normally it would mess up that equipment and not allow it to target that precision. Is that why?
I just think it's the using the spectrum of a laser during daylight on Earth. You've got all of the light from the sun that's refracted through the atmosphere that can cause interference with that laser. So it changes how it would operate over distance, and they were solving that problem while also solving a distance problem and hitting a target, a precision target, all at the same time.
Yeah, that is really cool.
It's pretty significant. I mean, it's geeky stuff, but it's pretty significant when
Well,
you
yeah,
think
because
about
it's
what
light.
it means. Yeah,
It's light.
next year you're going to see them, landing a lunar lander or something like that, or as we talked earlier, working with China to put up a nuclear, or working with Russia to put up a nuclear power plant on there, and they're going to be using these lasers to guide them in real time from Earth.
It's going to be crazy when, we look up at the moon and see stuff going on. That would be really, really crazy. Yeah. If we actually see this in our lifetimes, they say it's going to be the next few years. So, I mean, we're living in the craziest times. I think it's kind of magical. Even though we have all of this turmoil and it's just absolutely horrible, I mean, it's kind of magical that we get to live this life and this generation. Whereas, people in the 1500s, God, the life they lived, we are living in one of the craziest times ever. Dex, go ahead.
I'm surprised we haven't gotten some big investor to put a brand or a name.
I was just thinking the same thing. Coca-Cola or something.
That's where the money is, right? Like if they could put Coke on the moon,
We covered that before, though. That's what I thought of too.
They talked about it in space too, right? Just putting them up in space where you could see them in the night sky.
Well, do you know the sign? You can buy the laser things for the laser pointers where you put a tip on the laser pointer and it does a smiley face. Just
the bat
bet.
signal.
Yeah, they'll put Coca-Cola on a tip on a bat signal and fire it up at the moon and advertise Coca-Cola on the moon. I bet we will see that in the future. And I bet you it will even be like Coca-Cola. Like what huge company would be, willing to spend that kind of advertising? But and remember, because China talked about it, they wanted to do some sort of sky advertising where you would be able to see it from anywhere on the nighttime sky. You'd be able to see some sort of advertisement up in the sky in space. Because the pieces we were covering were from an advertising point of view, and that they were looking to space for advertising, and they were looking at the moon for advertising. I guess we'll see what ends up actually happening. Stephanie Cook, thank you. This is caught a live show. Yay. Thanks, guys. Love you. Hey, well, thank you. And then Dex, let me see here. I don't have that open. I hope I didn't miss any gifted memberships or anything, because that's the one thing I can't see. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. If you can, just double check to see if there's if I missed anything, because I don't want somebody to get mad.
No, I wouldn't. Nexit, a member for 18 months. Would the Golden Dome take care of EMPs? Well, and then Josh T joined as well.
Okay, thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. Well, it looks like Stephanie Cook is our top supporter tonight. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you for stopping by tonight. Again, tomorrow, Same time, we will be on a little bit earlier, actually, tomorrow. So, again, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. Much love. Dex, thank you so much for your service today.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And make sure to go check out the friends list. This has all of the mods. So if you want to go thank the mods, they do an awesome, awesome service down there for everybody. They're always answering questions. They're always just being an amazing, amazing positive force for this channel. So make sure to thank them. If you like our channel and our content, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to all. Thank you so much to everybody that has joined us. Love you guys. It is now time for the shoutro. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It's not a shoutro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
The flag above you, is it the same one? You think you wonder. I said I wonder. I said I wonder. Is someone taking over?